I finally found you. Who's there? Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for leaving you here alone. I've been searching forever. Constantly, I've been searching and searching for you. Where am I? It's so cold. I'll get you out right away. Such a lonely place, all by yourself. Why did a child have to go through? Why did it take me so long to? Say, who are you? Why are you crying? Because you're the most lovely thing in this world. Because I'm so happy to see you again. You're that glad? Yes. It was for you. It was in order to see you again that I was reborn. Who are you? I'm your greatest companion. Your one greatest, truest companion. Then, you're my. Yes, that's right. From this day forth, I will be your family. From this moment onward, you'll never be alone again. This, I promise you. Really? Then I'm Amelia, really glad. Amelia held her hands to her chest, reminiscing on a happier time. Listening to her words, Subaru felt his mouth rapidly drying. Amelia, sleeping inside the ice. In the great tree of prayers of her homeland. Frozen within its trunk, Amelia remained there until Puck saved her. Just how long a time was it? Subaru, Amelia, the place you lived in would be Elier Forest, right? The one that was frozen a long time ago, where the ice is gradually spreading even now. Amelia, MN, it is. By the time I woke up, they were calling it the ice forest. But it was a bright and luscious place bathed in sunlight before I went to sleep. It never snowed when I lived there with everyone. Subaru, luscious. No, more importantly, who's everyone? Subaru didn't know much about that place, so the before and after of Elier Forest was unknown to him. But here, it was something else that caught his attention. Amelia, everyone is everyone. Everyone I lived with in the forest. All the elves. Subaru, the elves. Then, your family was there too? Your mom and dad and maybe siblings too. Amelia. However, seeing Amelia's eyes filled with sadness, Subaru once again realized that he had misspoken. Amelia must have said it at some point before. That Puck was like her foster parent, and her only family. Subaru was supposed to have known that Amelia had lost her family in one fashion or another. Subaru, I'm SOR. I didn't mean. Amelia, it's fine. You're just worried for me, Subaru, but my family wasn't in the forest. Everyone in the village was very kind to me and always smiled at me, but I had no blood relatives in that forest. Subaru, if there's no one, then your parents are. At that question, Amelia quietly shook her head. She fiddled with the ends of her braid as if to distract herself then. Amelia, they were both gone by the time I was self-aware. I didn't think it was all that strange at the time. I did have someone who was like a mother to me, who was really kind and strong and cool. I had someone like that. Subaru. Amelia, but that person, and everyone else. When I fell asleep, they all went to sleep as well. Even now, deep in Elier Forest, so many people remain there in unwaking sleep. Subaru, ha? Speaking in a dispassionate voice, Amelia seemed to be tasking herself to state only the facts. Subaru's throat clogged up at the content of her words, but Amelia paid it no mind as she continued. Amelia, after I woke up, Puck and I went on watching over everyone sleeping. So that someday, when someone wakes up like I did, they wouldn't feel lost, not knowing anything. Thinking this, we stayed there. Subaru, hold on a second. The information load was so dense that Subaru's brain was struggling to keep up. What on earth happened in Elier Forest on the day Amelia first saw it snow? Subaru, from what I know, Elier Forest began freezing. A little over 100 years ago. I mean, I must have heard it while I was in the Royal Selection Hall or something. Amelia, MM. I was really surprised too when I went to study at the mansion and learned of this. Subaru, so, you were there when Elliot Forest first froze, right? Do you know how it happened? Amelia, no, I don't. Amelia shook her head to Subaru's question. Seeing Subaru furrow his brows, she looked down with a pained expression. Amelia, I really don't. Whatever happened back then? I can't remember it clearly at all. All I remember is that I was little, and I was terribly scared. But since I went on sleeping for so long, those memories are vague too. Subaru, you mentioned that you were little, but about how old were you back then? Amelia, I think I was around 7. Subaru, 7. And it's safe to assume that elves count their age the same way as humans, right? At this, Amelia nodded. If elves count their age the way people normally do, then it'd increment by 1 every passing year. Elves are well known to be a long-living race, and Amelia, being a half-elf, should be the same. On the other hand, even the long-living elves must go through a childhood, so the 7-year-old Amelia was beyond any blame. Although, with some simple arithmetics, this means that Amelia's current age would be 7 plus 800-odd years. Subaru, the age gap's nothing to worry about at this point. And considering we're from different worlds to begin with, that's nothing, really. Amelia, Subaru, what's wrong? Did I say something funny or? Subaru, nope. I was just thinking that you and me have a really serious age gap, that's all. While putting his thoughts in order and catching his breath, Subaru threw in a joke to lighten the mood. Although the joke was probably lost on her, Amelia's tense cheeks did relax somewhat as she let out a small sigh. Amelia, we do, but since I was asleep and unconscious for so long, I'm not really sure I've matured to my real age. Subaru, really? I don't exactly know how fast elves grow, but if it's anything like humans, I'd say you're pretty matured. Subaru casually looked over Amelia on the bed before snorting off her worries. Her limbs were fully grown and her body had all the curvatures of femininity. Her melancholy amethyst eyes and dreamlike features anointed her with a mysterious beauty, traveling in between that of a girl and woman. Amelia was plenty enough matured already. But it seems Subaru was missing the point of Amelia's worries, while with a no, she shook her head. Amelia, sleeping in the ice did not stop time for me, but only put my consciousness to sleep. So my body kept growing even inside the ice. Controlling my body felt so different from when I went to sleep that, for a time after I woke, I stumbled over so many things. Subaru, so being in that ice also has its flaws, huh? Having her 7-year-old body when she fell asleep turned into a fully grown woman when she woke must have been bewildering for her. It happens quite a lot in animes and mangas for children to have their bodies suddenly turned into adults, and the adaptation must not be easy. It's only natural that Amelia would have been distressed by the discrepancy between her mind and body. Amelia, when Roswell brought me out of the forest to study outside, and I learned that I had slept for nearly 100 years, I was really shocked to find out that I had been sleeping for so long. Subaru, if people age normally inside the ice, then for anyone other than long-living elves it'd be all over, was what he was about to say, when he noticed that he had just been told an incredible fact. Shutting his eyes, Subaru quietly put the numbers together in his head. Adding and subtracting, and then rechecking it several times just to be sure, his doubts turned into definite suspicion. Subaru, hey, Amelia. You just said you slept for almost 100 years? Amelia, I did, yeah. Subaru, and you were about 7 before you went to sleep, right? Amelia, I was. Subaru, what's? Subaru, Amelia. How long has it been since Puck woke you up? At least, from what he had heard, Roswell brought Amelia out of the forest about half a year ago. Which means Amelia would have lived with Puck in Elliot Forest until then. The question is, how much time had passed between her falling asleep, waking, and meeting Roswell? Still with a troubled expression, Amelia placed her finger to her lips. Emilia, about 6 or 7 years. Or so. Subaru. Hearing Emilia's answer, Subaru's suspicion turned into absolute conviction. The fact shocked through Subaru's body like a lightning bolt. 7 years after she was born, she spent nearly 100 years sleeping, then spent another 7 years awake. Which would mean that Emilia is around 107 years old. Looks like she's 18. While mentally, she's 14. Subaru, her actual age, apparent age, and mental age are all messed up. That kind of discrepancy was only possible because she is an elf. So many questions Subaru had about Emilia's behavior up to now suddenly made sense. Subaru had found her rather ignorant to flattery for an over a century-old elf, and he couldn't help noticing her disproportionate lack of experience of being around people, plus the cuteness of her occasionally childlike demeanor was always quite conspicuous. So all of it was the result of having spent the majority of her life in the ice. Subaru, 14. That's no different than felt. Why did a girl this young have to shoulder such great responsibility? Subaru's irritation towards the royal selection and for Roswell was only mounting. Then, reflecting on how the topic he brought up to lighten the mood had completely derailed, Subaru cut into another certainly not unrelated topic. Subaru, earlier, you said you don't know why the forest was frozen. So then what did you see in the trial? That vague memory of before you were frozen. That's what you saw, right? Emilia, I think so. The scenery was definitely from before I went to sleep. So I think it's a memory of a time that really existed. Subaru, so then, maybe the fact that you're so terrified of the memory is because in it you encountered whatever froze you, and the other elves, and you're subconsciously rejecting it. Emilia, that's not. Subaru, I mean, it doesn't get scarier than that, right? The trial shows you your greatest regret. So maybe what you're seeing is. Emilia, I said you're wrong. Emilia shouted, shattering Subaru's overheated train of thought. But she immediately blinked as if regretting raising her voice, and then closed her eyes to shake off her hesitation as she turned her watery eyes to Subaru. Emilia, that's not what I saw in the trial. It wasn't anything like that. What I saw was Subaru, Emil. Emilia, devil child. A chill like an icy spear pierced into Subaru's spine. Emilia buried her face in her hands, hiding her expression. From beyond her covered face, her voice continued quietly, without emotion. Emilia, the seed of disaster. Silver abomination. The creature that should never have been born. Source of all hatred. Unforgivable spirit. Demon. The witch's daughter. Subaru. Emilia, everyone who was kind to me, who smiled at me, said those things to me in the freezing snow and Emilia's limbs and her entire body was faintly trembling. Emilia, I don't remember anything that happened after I was inside the ice. But I can't forget how everyone must have cursed me frozen there. And how they must continue to curse me still. Subaru. Emilia, and so, I want to free everyone from the ice. And apologize. Absently, with her face in tears, Emilia looked up, as if seeing them, before quietly bowing her head. Emilia, I'm sorry I caused you trouble. Everyone, I love you all.